Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's good, fam? Listen, it's a little bit after 3 o'clock Central Standard Time, and y'all know what that means. This is another edition of Book Talk Live. I'll be your host today. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ray Destin Jr. I am the founder and CEO of BOBM Publishing. We are a full-service publishing house that has helped well over 400 authors reach their goals of becoming Amazon #1 best-selling authors. 87 of them have actually went on to become international, and 27 #1 international bestsellers. So, with that being said, today is going to be a very special day because unlike the days where you actually get an author and with sharing their story and you get a little bit of the behind the scenes with them talking about their books or whatnot, today you're actually getting some information directly from the CEO to help you all go to the next level. I do these book talk lives coaches editions because I truly want to see you all succeed and take it to the next level. So with that being said, if you here, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know you here. Let me know where you residing from. If you from Texas, say, yo, this is so-and-so from Texas. If you from the UK, if you from India, if you're from wherever you from, let me know you here. Let me know you checking in with me. And let me know you clocking with me. Today is going to be special because I hear it from so many authors. Hey, come on, man. My guy, Nick, what's going on? Long time no talk. We need to reconnect on that. But I hear a lot of authors who are saying, I'm wondering how my books are doing. I'm not really selling many books. My book just kind of hit this plateau. And trust me, I get it, right? There's a few things that you're not doing as an author, and that's the reason. That's the reason. What's going on, Ro? Roshana from Houston, Texas. The reason that your books are not moving the way that they should is because there are certain things that you haven't implemented in your business. So today is all about helping you personally get to that next level, right? So first three things are the three things that I'm going to talk about today. Are one is going to help you in the very beginning of the writing process. This is mapping your book out. If you do not map your book out, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose every single time because you missed the most important step. You don't build a house without a foundation. So that's where the book mapping comes in. Second thing that you need to do is you need to write on a specific schedule. This is the reason, again, as many of you know, if you've been rocking with me, it took me 5 years to write my first book. And that 5 years was because I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a guide, I didn't have a coach, and I didn't have somebody helping me through the process. So it took me 5 years. I've actually shortened that process down to, I want to say the last book that I actually wrote took me less than 2 weeks to write. Could show you the same things. The last thing is that you need to get in front of audiences, right? I'll go into more detail on how to get in front of those audiences, but I'll say it this way. You're going to extend the same amount of energy to get in front of one person and try to sell them a book as it would take you to sell 100 books in front of 1,000 people. So let's get to business. And I also have a bonus for you. So I do really, I'm excited about this edition, right? If y'all can't tell, I'm super excited about this one. So the first thing is mapping your book. Why is mapping your book important? Just like I alluded to before, most of you live in homes, apartments, really nice houses, whatever the case may be. Some of you actually had the chance to build your house from the ground up. If you had a chance to build your house from the ground up, then you know that there are certain things that you need to have in place. You have to have a foundation. You have to have the barriers or the beams to make sure that the bricks and everything stays in place. You have to decide if you're going with a brick house, a wood house, a glass house. Three Little Pigs, right? Then you have to make sure you know where the windows are going. You have to know if you want carpet or if you want hardwood floors, what kind of counters you want, what kind of appliances you want. I can go on and on with this list for building a house. And the thing about building your house is that you're putting an investment towards your future, because this is where you and your family are going to reside for many years to come. unless you're in the real estate investing market, and that becomes a place that you're temporarily there, or that you are purchasing to sell or rent out to others. That's besides the point. But when it comes down to your book, here's what most authors do not do. Most authors come and say, and I've heard this so many times, I got this great book and I want to write it. I got a great story. Okay, what's your story about? And they start telling me their story. And I'm like, this is amazing. Your book can be so powerful. What happens is that's where the planning stops. There was no plan on how to convey that message, right? So when you're conveying your message, there's a few things that you want to include. And this is where the book mapping session, first and foremost, you need to know what you're going to talk about. The reason that you need to know what you're going to talk about is because if you write a bunch of nothing, this is not Mad Libs. We are not in third and fourth grade. You have to have a strategic topic that you're talking about. The reason that topic is so important is because it allows you to understand who is in your target audience. That's the second most important thing of a book mapping session. I'm not going to give you everything in your book mapping session, but I will give you just a few of the basics. You need to know who's your target audience. And this is the most incorrect answer that I get. The question that gives the most incorrect answers. Who is your book for? The number one answer that everybody returns is it's for everybody. Anybody that can read. That sounds good, but it's not right. So if you're writing your book, you need to know who is in your target audience. Who specifically? You need to know the very detail of them. And I'll break that down like this. If you go into a Walmart, there's a specific type of customer that Walmart is marketing to, that they're advertising to. If you go to Target, they are advertising to a specific customer, right? There's a new tumbler that's out, and I'm pretty sure more of you know the answer to this than I do. But there's a new tumbler that's going for, I think it's $72. It can do some amazing stuff, and they're flying off the shelves because everybody wants this specific tumbler, right? The funny thing is, there are other tumblers that are only $5, that are only $2, that are only $3, that are staying stocked on every shelf in America, and they're not moving in the same way. Why is that? The one we're just putting this out there for whoever wants to come along and drink from this cup. Another company said, we are targeting a specific buyer. We're targeting women who work out or who are in the office all day, or they have something specific that they're trying to get across. Moms with these specific needs in place. Your book should do the same thing. When you begin the writing process for your book, you need to know exactly who it is that you're writing to. If you're writing a book that is about overcoming abuse, think about the specific type of abuse that you overcame. Think about the person who is most likely to go through this ordeal in a similar fashion as you. The reason that that's important is because now you know which audiences you need to get in front of, and you also know how this specific audience talks, how they communicate with each other. Do they use very formal language, or are they very relaxed in their conversation? These things are very important because conveying your message properly is very important. I'm from Houston, so there's certain words that I say. If I go to other cities, people look at me like I'm talking French, right? If I say already in Houston, everybody knows that I'm either showing a confirmation, or I'm in agreement with you, or hey, the plan is the plan. Let's go, right? That's what it means while I am here. If I go to a different city and I say that same word, people will say, "What did you just say? What does that mean?" Right? And I'm not making fun of any other cities, because every city has their specific vernacular that they use. If you're talking to a woman from Houston, but you're talking to her with language from Baltimore, you may lose her in the process. There are certain slang terms that, as you're writing, if you're going to include that slang, or if you're going to include that vernacular, then what you want to do is also add a few definitions to the language that you are writing. Also, the reason for this target market is, like I said, you need to know who's in there. I'll come back to the target market in a moment because this is very important about getting in front of those crowds. Next, in your book mapping, and we're still on point number one, the book mapping. Next thing is you need to know what specifically you want to convey. There, one thing about most books that I have reviewed or even seen is that the great books give you some type of a summary at the end of each chapter. And it's not a long summary, but what they're giving you are points of power, or they're giving you things to ponder, or they're giving you coaches communications, or the top five things that you need to learn from this chapter. When you write a book that is to help someone, people will read the story and they'll get so engaged and so captured and so captivated by the story that they forget that they were there to learn specific things. Now, what you can do is you can go in and leave those breadcrumbs for them, because while you captivate them with the story and your writing, at the end of it, there are certain things that you want them to walk away with, certain things that you want them to learn from it. Why are these points of power, these five key topics, these key points important? Because after your book, you have the opportunity with those 5 key points, 7 key points, 10, 13, whatever your favorite number is. With those key points, you have the opportunity now to go in and create a workbook from that same information. That workbook can become a course. That course can become a conference. That conference, you get where I'm going with this. These are speaking topics that you have built into the information that you're conveying. So as you're mapping out your book, you need to know what your topic is. You need to know who's your audience, and you need to know the key points that you are going to convey throughout each chapter, and leave those breadcrumbs for your audience so that you can create more income streams from it. I'm giving you the game, but I'm just alluding to certain information, right? Now, the next thing after you have completed that book mapping is, and this isn't everything in the book mapping, but these are just some of the key points. After that, you need to have a specific writing schedule. And when I say a specific writing schedule, I don't want you to write sporadically. I don't want you to write just when you feel good. I don't want you to write just when time permits, because guess what? Time never permits. We're adults. After the age of 18, we have responsibilities. Everybody has somewhere that they have to clock into, whether it be your job or your personal business. You have to take time away, or you have to create time that you already were low on in the beginning. So what I need you to do is schedule a consistent writing time. Now, in order for that time to be good, it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be in the same place if possible. If you like writing in your home office, write in your home office. If you like going to Starbucks, that's one of my favorite places. I love going to coffee shops or libraries. Why? Because it gets me in the environment of people, but I get a chance to block them out and still people watch while I'm making the magic happen. Find a space that allows you to free your mind and brain dump. Get the information down on paper. But you have to be consistent with that writing time. The reason that you want to be consistent is because once you let others know this is the time that I am going to be writing, whether it be 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. or midnight or noon, when you determine this time is specifically for writing, it's on your calendar, it's on your schedule. You block it out and you make sure that nobody is interrupting that time. The good thing about this is that people will begin to, initially, they may not know that that's your writing time, but eventually people that are calling around that time will start to notice, hey, they're not answering their phone. Hey, they're not picking up the FaceTime. Hey, they're not available. So they stop interrupting during your specific writing time, during your specified writing time. That's important because Having that specific writing time allows you to finish a lot faster. Like I said, when I first started, when I wrote my first book, it took me 5 years. The last book that I wrote, it took me less than 2 weeks. That's because I had a specific writing time and a specific writing pattern that I was following. Last thing on this list of the top 3 things, or the 3 tips for today, is get in front of crowds. I can't stress this enough. Most people are scared to speak in front of crowds. Why? Because they feel like something bad is going to happen when they communicate to a larger crowd. Something bad can happen with you talking to one person in front of you. But here's the magic and the beauty of getting in front of a larger crowd. First thing is, if you are in front of a large crowd, they should be a crowd based on your specific target audience, based on your specific target audience, right? If they are if they are from your target audience, you have a higher chance of selling larger quantities of your book, because you are now in front of the people who will actually buy from you, the people that you wrote for. How can you get in front of these larger crowds? One, look for speaking opportunities. Look for upcoming events. A few places that you can look for upcoming events. Look at the event centers in your area. Find out what's going on at the local convention centers. Maybe you want to get in front of women's organizations. List the women's organizations that you want to get in front of. Maybe you want to get in front of business organizations. Start with your local chambers of commerce and also go to other businesses in the area. You're going to have to communicate with the decision makers and let them know that you are, and in fact, that you are a speaker as well as an author. I would lead with author first, because there are actually grants out there to bring authors in to speak. That's just a free piece of game that's out there. Um, get in front of the audiences that you want, and event slowly. Some of those events may be free events, but a free event with a book in hand that you're selling can easily turn into $100 event, a $500 event, $1,000 event, based on the number of books that you have with you and how much you're selling them for. So don't downgrade the opportunity that's sitting right there in front of you. Most authors do not keep copies of their book on hand, and therefore, when they have those opportunities, they miss the opportunity to sell, or they're not even looking for those opportunities. So the first plan of action after leaving this live video, if you haven't already done so, write down that list of organizations that you want to speak to, people that would be great for the target market that you're trying to speak to. Because believe it or not, they're sitting in those groups waiting on you. The only difference is you haven't reached out to the groups and let them know that you even exist. You have to get in front of those audiences to let them know that you do exist. For those of you who are already speaking to audiences and you're leaving money on the table, and this is for my speakers who are already out there. If you don't have a book, you need to have one. Why? Because most audiences will forget you within a month of you speaking to them. Yeah, you can be amazing. Yeah, you can be impactful. But guess what? Before you even go to that event, you should be talking to the event organizer, the decision maker, about the possibility of purchasing training materials or educational materials for that specific audience. And 9 times out of 10, your book falls in that category if you've done it according to the plan that we've already laid out. Make sure that you have those key points, the possibility of a workbook to go with that book. I don't care if it's your life story. If you're writing a life story style book, there are still key points from your life that you can leave as breadcrumbs for that audience, right? So those are the 3 things. First thing is map your book. Start with a plan. If you don't have a plan, for those who fail to plan to fail. That's the first thing. So that book mapping is key, is very important. If you missed it, go back and watch it and just take down some notes based on the things that I've actually laid out for you. Second thing is write on a specific schedule. You don't want to be interrupted during your writing time, and you want to make it a habit. For those people who go to the gym on a consistent basis, you see the results. For those people who do it sporadically, you also see the results, right? So your writing is the exact same thing. Last thing is to get in front of audiences. Get in front of audiences. Get in front of audiences with your ideal reader who will eventually become your ideal client for the other services that you have. Here's the bonus that I have for you all. One of the things that I noticed what so many authors do is they're inconsistent, right? And when I say inconsistent, it you kind of work based on a field schedule. When I feel like writing, I'm going to write. When I feel like promoting my book, I'm going to promote my book. When I feel like talking about the things that I offer, that's when you do it, because you feel like you're overdoing it. Well, here's the difference. Consistency is key. Consistency is key. Everybody that has been through grades K through 12 knows that school started at a certain time, it ended at a certain time. There was a vacation calendar, there was a schedule for summer break, there was a schedule for winter break. And every year we knew when we had to be back in school, we knew when the school year was over, we knew when the 6-week grade checks came in handy. Why do you think that scheduling was so important? It was so important because in order to track the progress and in order to grow, you have to have a schedule of consistency, right? As an author, the first thing that I need you, and I mean I absolutely need you to do, is be more consistent with the fact that you have written a book. Talk about your book. I don't care if all your friends put you on mute on their social media pages. There are a bunch of people that are not on your friends list that are looking for the information that you have. So at least once a week, you need to keep it out there that you have a book. If you have a post schedule every Friday at 12 o'clock noon that you're talking about your book, something great that you can do if you haven't already done is do a live series based on the contents of your book. People want to know what's inside of it. Some people will tune in, some won't. So what? Some will, some won't. So what? But for those people that do tune in, those become your loyal fans. Those become your loyal followers. Those become the people who are going to consistently support you on this journey as you continue to grow. Like I said, we've worked with well over 500 authors in the past 5 years. I only knew about 1% of that 500 when we first started launching Authors to Bestseller. Saying all that to say, the more consistent you are, the more people will remember your name. Be consistent with your writing, because if you are a writer, right? And I was listening to an audiobook recently, and they were talking about Shonda Rhimes. And they said one thing that Shonda Rhimes does not do is she doesn't write for a hobby. She wakes up at about 5:30. From 5:30 to 6:30, she has time for her own mental well-being. She has self-care time. That's time that she's praying. That's time that she's journaling. That's time that she's spending to refresh herself. From I think it's like 6:30 to 7:30, she's spending time with her family. From 7:30 until about noon, she has it on her calendar that she is writing, and she's writing for that time consistently because it's not a hobby. During that time, she has a rule that no one can interrupt her writing unless they're coming with a solution to a problem. Not a, you I want to repeat that. They cannot interrupt her unless they're coming with a solution to a problem. Most people that interrupt us during the most important times when we are actually focused on going to the next level, they're usually coming with a set of problems. Hey, I need help with. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. I got to the point personally where I had to actually take off time because there were too many people that were asking for things and they weren't contributing to the impact that I was looking to make. Nothing personal against those people, but sometimes you have to know where you're at when it comes down to your journey and what's next. So be consistent with your writing time. If you're doing this, if you're just writing a book as a hobby and you're writing it as something that you want to get out there so that you can say, hey, everybody, I wrote this book and I'm cool. Hey, I'm not mad at you. But if you are writing this to turn it into a career, then you have to be more consistent with the amount of time that you're writing. That is going to change the game for you, because you'll notice that over time, through that consistency, you're going to get better as a writer. You're going to get better at effective communication. You're going to get better at delivering your message, and you're going to become more confident in your writing, right? Now, as you're writing, I also want you to spend some time reading other people's works. You're not reading their works so that you can plagiarize, but you're reading so that you can begin to see some of the things that work for others that could possibly work for you. Maybe you like their style, maybe you like their vocabulary. You're picking up on different words. You're beginning to notice the flaws in your own writing as a result of reading other people's works as well. I want you to be consistent when it comes down to reaching out to organizations for the opportunity to speak, or be consistent about the marketing of your specific project. So when I talk about reaching out to organizations, again, we talked about this list of organizations that you would like to speak with based on who works with your target market. Once you begin being consistent with reaching out, what's going to start happening is your calendar will start getting filled up with opportunities. Those opportunities are going to allow you to meet other people who are other influencers, who are other decision makers, who can bring you into other events. So don't sleep on the possibilities. You have to be consistent with your reaching out. In the beginning, nobody knows your name. Nobody even knows you exist. And that's not me being condescending or rude to you. That's me telling you the truth. There are a lot of people out there who would love to know exactly what it is that you do, but the fact that you have not, and I do repeat, the fact that you have not put yourself out there and started reaching out to people that can make the decision to stroke a check, or to bring you in and allow you to speak in front of their audiences. Some people have access to audiences of 20 people. Some people have access to audiences of 1,000 people. Some people have access to audiences of millions. You have to be consistent and start where you are. Never despise, do not despise small beginnings, because small beginnings can lead to huge results, right? There's a study that was recently done, and they talked about the impact of dominoes. So I'll just give you a quick example of how quickly your influence can grow. So they say if you start with a regular sized domino, the next domino that it has the potential to actually knock over is a domino that's twice its size. So if you continue multiplying that domino by two each time, in about, I want to say, in about 10 dominoes, you're actually at a domino that is larger than the size of the larger than the distance between the earth and the moon. So if that is how it happens with dominoes, imagine how it happens when you begin to be consistent with reaching out to decision makers about bringing you in to speak, get in front of their audience to actually sell that book, while other people are sitting back saying, man, I only sold one book this entire week. You'll get to the habit of saying, oh, I sold 1,000 books last week, because I was in the front of 5 different audiences and I sold 250 books at each event. I was in front of 10,000 people. You have to do the work though. And that consistency will build something. It will build your confidence. It will grow your audience, and it will allow you to see some of the opportunities that you've been missing out on because you haven't been consistent in the past. And I want you, lastly, be consistent with your marketing. You're on social media every day, and you're commenting on other people's posts, and you're putting up the joke of the day or the scripture of the day. What about the book of the day? Yours. Let people know that you have something that you worked on. You spent many hours. You spent months. Some people spent years to get these books out. And you get shy about it once it's finally here. I need you to start bragging on yourself just a little bit more. Let people know at least once a week that your book is still out there and they can still purchase that book from you. I don't care if it's been 5 years since your book was out. I don't care if it's been 10. I don't care if you put it out last month and you feel like the buzz died down. You have to consistently find ways to rejuvenate that energy, that excitement that you initially had. And if you can't figure out a way on social media or through these audiences, I need you to set a bigger goal for yourself. The bigger goal should be, I want to sell X number of books by this date. And don't set a small goal. I see a lot of people when I ask, how many books do you want to sell in the first year? And they say, oh, I want to sell 100 books. What about 1,000? What about 10,000? What about 100,000? If you set a goal that's big enough, you have to engage your brain and find ways to make it happen. The only person who doesn't believe that it's possible is the person that you look at in the mirror every day. Either if you think that you can, or if you think that you can't, you're absolutely right. Okay. So listen, that's all I got for y'all today. Like I said, I just wanted to give y'all 3 tips to help you improve your results as an author, starting from the beginning to the end. First thing is, make sure you map that book. Make sure you map the book. If you don't start with a plan, those who fail to plan to fail. Second thing is, be consistent with your writing time. During the time that you're writing your book, be consistent. When it's all said and done, I need you to be consistent all over again. And then the last thing is, get in front of larger audiences. Get in front of more audiences. The more people that you are in front of, the more people will know that you actually exist as an author. Okay. So listen, that's all I have for y'all today. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, go ahead and drop a comment. Hey, that was fire. That was good. I appreciate the information. If it wasn't, keep it to yourself. But listen, I love y'all. Love y'all to life. Ain't nothing you can do about it.